Hi, Sue Borison here from Your Teen Media. Today I'm here with Lori Desautels. I'm going to look at her bio. It's very impressive. Lori is an assistant professor at Butler University in the College of Education, and she studies the application of educational neuroscience. Okay, you can fill that in if I didn't get the whole thing. So Lori, we're thrilled to have you here today, and our focus is going to be helping middle school parents kind of understand what's going on in middle school and what's going on now, particularly during this time of quarantine and easing up on quarantining. So my first question is, what do you know about middle school kids? Because you work with them and you know them and you research them. What do you know about them that most parents don't? Like you wish that you could tell all the parents of middle school kids in the world, this is what I know about middle school kids.
Well, so Sue, thank you for having me, first of all, and I really appreciate this conversation because I think it's really important. And I want to add, besides working in an educational setting with middle school students, I'm also a former mom of 3 middle school students who are now young adults. And those middle school years, there is no doubt about it, are tumultuous, to say the least. They feel chaotic. They feel like they will never end in moments. And what I wish that I had known as a mom, and what I want to share today as an educator, is that this is a time of huge transition. It's almost like you've got to, before you go on a trip, you've got to pack and prepare for this adventure. And so I would rather reframe middle school and talk about it as this pre-adolescent trip that's going to take us on an adventure. And we need to begin, and I wish I had done this, to be more curious, to wonder a little bit more about the behaviors that I was seeing. Because what I'm learning now is that this beautiful, complex, developing brain is fragile. It is pruning away connections that it no longer needs as it prepares and specializes for young adulthood. So what does that look like? It looks like there is some bumping up and resisting authority. It looks like there are power struggles and control issues happening. Friends become everybody's world. Peers are everything. Novelty seeking is a huge part of this time because there are lower baselines for that reward motivation neurochemical called dopamine. So we see our middle schoolers taking more risks. They're a little more impulsive. But I also see this beautiful mind that is honest again. Not that it was ever dishonest, but it's almost like that 2- and 3-year-old mind that will say what it is. And I think I wish that I would have listened to that honesty when Andrew, Sarah, and Reagan were going through 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade and into that freshman year in high school. So maybe, Sue, what I'm saying is what we don't know and what I'm seeing and learning is that there is this complexity, but it can inform us as parents. It can enlighten us because it is so authentic.
I think that, if I can get myself back to those ages, I think it took me a long time to let go of what I thought my role was.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of it is saying that it's like I'm not the boss of them, even though in a lot of ways we still are, and we're going to make the ultimate decision, but not, it sounds like you're saying if we're more curious, we might actually come to a different decision with them.
Absolutely. And I think and this is really, this is something I really want to share today at the core of our discussion. I am seeing now with middle schoolers that it is really my brain and body state that sets the tone for dialogue, for discipline. And when I am taking care of myself, meaning that I am approaching that middle schooler with a very calm, regulated brain state. I have taken a couple of deep breaths before I say something I'm going to regret. I have exercised. If I need to take a walk, if I need to move away, space and time, I would have done that as a mom. There is nothing more important than a calm brain approaching another brain to calm it. And that's, and neurobiologically, what happens is everybody moves out of their fight flight response into a decision making, emotionally calm presence so we can hear each other. So again, if I had a do-over, which again, I'm doing this in schools today with middle school students, I would have paid a lot more attention to my tone of voice, my facial expression, my gestures, and the way I posture with these children. And or not children, they are young adults.
So the other thing as you're saying it is how much I have to understand myself. Like when I hit this point, it's a very big wake up call, which is different than taking care of kids prior to that, which is I have to really understand, like, what are my hot buttons, and then how am I going to deal with it?
And so you bring up such a great point, because the boundaries change, the roles and responsibilities shift, and we're not prepared for that. We have been such 24/7 caregivers, making sure that everybody is safe and everybody feels felt and they're fed and they're sleeping appropriate hours. And all of a sudden, this booming time comes, and we see this growing, this young adult who is just growing into independence. But as they grow into independence, they are resisting so many of those rules and structures and boundaries that we've put into place. So one of the things that I suggest, and again, I would have implemented, is that I think it's a time of collaboration. So I think it's a time to re-look and reframe some rules and pick and choose your battles. You know, what can we live with now that can give our kids some more yeses? Some more yeses. It's called emotional, that emotional freedom a little bit. And again, to collaborate and not to respond until we have thought through possibilities. And it's hard to do because traditionally we parent fast, we parent in a reactive way, and we parent in the ways that we were parented, which is that it's 1,000-year long tale that all of us carry when it comes to discipline.
Oh, yeah, that's so true. Okay, so you study how adversity affects brain development.
Mhm.
And right now we are facing a lot of adversity in our homes. So are there any helpful words you can give to parents who have that early adolescent kid at home and it might not be going so well right now?
Hmm. Well, first of all, I want to encourage parents that you're not alone. That every home that has a middle school student in that home right now is experiencing some extra adversity and some extra stress. And what we understand about this time is that this kind of really high stress time in our communities with the pandemic is actually creating some unpredictability. And it's pretty chronic right now, and it's creating some isolation. So our middle school kids, this development requires them to be social. And what's happening is we're more isolated right now. So that is of huge frustration and kind of a block for that. So in this time, we know that the stress that we feel is oftentimes we don't feel comfortable sharing it. So as a parent right now, I would offer several opportunities to share how you feel. And that is not through words. Maybe it's through journaling. Maybe it's through creating a podcast, to share. Maybe it's creating, your own YouTube. Maybe it's just a way of expressing how this is affecting you right now so that you can get it out, and or even through art and music. Those are other ways. It's a good time to tap into our kids' interests, their passions, their strengths. So whatever they love to do, create a song, create a rap, if they create a poem, encourage them to express themselves in the way that it feels good to them, because that is actually calming to the nervous system.
And are you suggesting that the parent do it with the child or that they're each independently finding what's valuable for them?
I think independent valuableness, if that's a word, could be so helpful, because then it provides a time where you can all share, and maybe, somebody created some type of a poem. Maybe somebody else created a piece of art. Maybe somebody else wrote some music. We all have passions, and we're all so busy that sometimes we don't even get to enjoy those. So
Oh
as
my
a
God,
family,
I am going to have a family show and tell in my house. I'm
that's
so
what it is.
excited.
It's a family show and tell. It really is. And again, let the kids plan it. Let them, invite, friends and family through Zoom. Have create some favorite family snacks. And just enjoy that. Just enjoy that, because what you're doing is you're actually possibly even creating maybe a routine for the summer. How cool would it be to have, because we all need routines, and our middle schoolers thrive with structure and predictability and routine. They'll resist it and they'll fight us on it, but they need it. So you're creating some social connections, you're creating some predictable routines, and some of the ways that they can enjoy the summertime with a little more emotional freedom.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that for my own family, and my kids are older. Okay, so last question. One myth that we hold about middle school kids.
Well, so this is, you and I were talking about if this is a myth, but I think the myth, I stated it fast right out of my head, and that is that this is the worst time to be a parent. And I really want to clarify that and reframe that and really rethink that, because it can feel that way at times because of the significant transitions that these children are morphing into as they move into young adulthood. But really, what we're looking at is the opportunity to join up with them. And I love that term, is to join up with this transition. And so that is not so easy to do, but these are the things that I have seen work with our students, and that have worked with my two daughters when we were going through that really hard time. And I gave them some space, and I gave them some time, and they watched me take care of myself. They watched when I was frustrated and I needed to take a walk or I wanted to take a run. I did not give up on the things I love. And I think sometimes when we're parenting, we full on parent and we forget to care for ourselves. And so I think it can be a beautiful time when we become curious about behaviors, when we wonder what's going on, because a behavior is only a signal. There's a lot going on underneath that signal, and nobody knows their child better than the parent. And so I think it's a great time to be reflective, to take care of yourself, and to really join up with our kids as they transition during this time.
Thank you so much. This was really profound. I mean, it can really, I hope that people listening will recognize that the words you're saying can make a huge difference in their homes right now and hopefully for the future. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.